Oi! Review this game!
Who the fuck are you? And how did you get in my house?
Stop being an elbow and just review the fucking game.
Okay, fine. The fucking hell.
Did you just call me an elbow?
The fuck just happened?
Let's rock, baby.
Welcome, lads, ladies, and everyone in between to another review. In the past, I've looked at most of the mainline Resident Evil series, and I've also looked at some of the COD games. However, in today's video, I'm going to be looking at a type of game that I've never actually spoken about on this channel. Character action games. Bayonetta, God Hand, Metal Gear Rising, the original God of War, and the granddaddy of them all that we're talking about today, Devil May Cry. Released in 2001, Devil May Cry is a character action game focused on the son of the legendary Dark Knight Sparta. This handsome chap's name is Dante, and he runs a little business dealing with all kinds of weird and mysterious creatures, trying to find the one responsible for killing his mother and brother many years ago. The game focuses on combat as you take on many different enemies and bosses to try and defeat the evil demon Emperor Mundus. The game was received well and praised upon its release, which then led to a sequel being released in 2003. And then another sequel in 2005. And then another sequel in 2008. And in 2012 they released a HD collection of the first 3 games. Then in 2013 they released a reboot. And then in 2019, they released another sequel, but it didn't carry on from the reboot, it just carried on from the original timeline. And then, basically what I'm getting at is that Devil May Cry was a hit with players and has spawned a large fan base around its cast of colourful characters. The game started development as a version of RE4. That was going to be directed by Hideki Kamiya, the director of the original RE2, but Shinji Mikami, the director of RE1, thought that the game Kamiya had in mind strayed too far from what made a Resident Evil game. But he didn't scrap the project altogether, instead turning it into an entirely new series where the ideas could be expanded upon even further, and thus we have Devil May Cry. Did you know Dante's original name was going to be Tony? It's not important to the development or any point I'm going to make in this video, but I thought you ought to know. You can certainly tell from the overall presentation that this game has some DNA in common with the Resident Evil series. For example, the voice acting.
I should have been the one to fill your dark soul with light.
Yeah, this is definitely RE voice acting. And the camera, which, for the kind of game this is, doesn't really fit. This is an RE camera system through and through, except not the classic RE, but taking more of a Code Veronica approach. The environments are fully 3D, and thus the camera can move through said environment and do some cool panning shots. This is cool looking when you're exploring the castle, but it doesn't mesh well with the combat, where often you'll be trying to fight something that is off screen, or you end up off screen after jumping to attack the enemy. It's a bit annoying when you get hit by attacks you couldn't possibly see coming, because the enemy isn't even on the fucking screen. The boss fights don't tend to suffer the same problem, however. Apart from the bird. Fuck that bird, he's the most annoying piece of shit in the whole game because his attacks are a pile of wank. However, for those moments where you're sick of putting effort into the boss combat, or tired of the base enemies in the area, I have just the thing for you. Don't buy any upgrades or consumables in the first few missions with red orbs, and save up for the air raid, which my friends and I started referring to as the win button, because of how much fucking health it removes in about 2 seconds flat from any boss or enemy, all the way up until the end of the game. Air Raid is completely broken, and the reason that I continued to use the sword Alistor for the entire game and didn't even bother touching the others. Back on the boss fights, we'll start with the first, Phantom the Spider Boss. You fight this prick in the 3rd mission when he pounces on you from the ceiling, and can I just point out, if this happened to me while I was sitting on the pan, I think that would cause me to finish what I'm doing a hell of a lot quicker.
Hi there!
We kick his ass by attacking the weak point in his back and avoiding his fire attacks, but he gets away, the 8-legged fucker. The next boss is this Dark Knight guy, who seems to be a bit more honourable than the enemies we've been fighting. He challenges us to a duel and we win the fight, but Dante gets pinned to a wall and I'm quite jealous if I'm being honest. The knight doesn't kill us though after he sees our cool necklace and decides to nip to the nearest Pandora to get one for himself. We then fight Phantom again, where he has the same attacks as before and we beat him just as easily. And this time we actually kill him by impaling him, which is how we should deal with all spiders. None of this pick it up with a piece of paper and put it outside nonsense, just kill the bastards. The next boss is Griffin. I hate him. He's the boss I was talking about when bitching about the camera. All of his attacks come from off screen since he is either off screen himself or he takes up the whole fucking screen. Basically just air raid to get through this fight as fast as possible. We fight the knight for the second time where he has all the same moves as before and we beat him just as easily. Now, hang on, anyone else getting a sense of deja vu? He vanishes again, but he didn't ask where I got my coat, so I can't imagine where he's gone. And then we fight the bird again, but this time on a boat, where he has all the same moves as before and we beat him just as easily by using our air raid to get through it. I'm noticing a pattern here. A short time later, we fight the bird again, where take a fucking guess what we do. Where he has all the same moves as before and we beat him just as easily by using our air raid to get through it. We get back to the room where we first fought Phantom and there's another boss fight called Nightmare, and that's exactly what he isn't. He's piss easy. Hit the thing on the wall so he exposes his weak point and then hit it and maybe air raid it. Then repeat that a couple of times until he does an unavoidable move where you shoot some skulls for 10 seconds and fight Phantom again, but this time in the middle of another fight. The next fight is the last one with the knight, where he powers up to Super Saiyan and has the same moves as before and we beat him just as easily. We find out at the end though that he bought the same amulet we have, and that means our amulet can now be super powerful when we combine them. We head to the underworld and fight Nightmare again, and I'll spare you the details of what we do in that fight since I'm sure you can take a guess. The final fight is Mundus, and he's separated into 3 parts. One that is an on-rail shooter with meh controls, where we just hold the shoot button and move around to hurt him. We get done with that and we head into phase 2, where he stands in the middle and we shoot him with our gun to charge Devil Trigger, and then shoot him with that instead. We beat him like that and think it's the end until we try to escape and he comes back again. We beat him easily with our air raid and the game is done, and we're done talking about the boss fights. Overall, the quality of the bosses are okay. I could do with some change to the movesets between fights that repeat themselves, especially with the character of the Dark Knight. You think a skilled swordsman would know to change his strategies when fighting an opponent who has previously kicked his ass? It just makes the fights rather tedious when nothing about them changes and they don't offer anything new apart from some cutscenes and moving the plot along. On that topic, the combat is really fun. You have some simple attacks and combos you can pull off with your main weapon, you can shoot with some of the guns of your choosing, and you can use your Devil Trigger ability to activate some cool abilities despite only needing one. You can choose between different weapons as you find them throughout the story. Your first weapon is Force Edge, which is just a basic sword. Nothing more really to say about it. The second is Alastor, which gives you access to Devil Trigger and has some cool lightning powers. Also, it has the coolest introduction cutscene. That's pretty fucking cool. The next weapon is Ifrit, which is a set of fire fists with a fire version of Devil Trigger. I didn't like this as much because the moves aren't as cool as Alastor, so I didn't use them at all. The final weapon we get is Sparda. This happens after we defeat the Dark Knight and combine our amulet with his, and this allows our sword Force Edge to become Sparda. This sword straight up doesn't have access to Devil Trigger, so once again I never used it. You can also find other weapons to replace your pistols, Ebony and Ivory. I didn't use these weapons for the most part, except right at the end. The pistols are honestly fine to carry you through the majority of the game, and carried me through my entire playthrough until the final boss. You find a shotgun, which I didn't use, a grenade launcher, which I used against Mundus for higher damage, and a small version of the Nightmare boss if you decide to look around a bit. This drains your Devil Trigger when it fires, so I didn't bother with it. Like I said, I used Ebony and Ivory the entire time because they were pretty reliable and had a good rate of fire. I've sounded pretty negative overall about this game, but I loved my time with it. I just want to acknowledge where the game goes wrong after being released for 21 years. I haven't even covered the story, so let's do that now. We open with a text crawl that introduces us to the story of Sparda and how he defeated Mundus before cutting to Dante's business called Devil May Cry. A woman called Trish comes in asking Dante for his services before stabbing him in the chest with his own sword and throws a bike at him as a test.
Are you really the son of the legendary Dark Knight Sparda? Didn't your daddy teach you how to use a sword?
Fucking hell, I would have hated to have her for exams at school.
Welcome to your PE exam.
We head to Malay Island with Trish because she looks like Dante's dead mother and begin our journey into this castle. We explore through it and fight the bosses I talked about and explore more of the castle and the surrounding grounds before backtracking to the castle to enter the underworld and eventually make it to the cathedral to fight the demon Emperor Mundus. We defeat Mundus, but Trish was killed in the process but comes back to life because... Actually, I don't know why she comes back to life, she just kind of does. After we defeat Mundus and escape in the plane that can be seen as early as the first mission of the game, Trish joins us as our sidekick and the business name is changed to Devil Never Cry, which personally I don't think rolls off the tongue quite as well. It's a pretty simple to follow plot, but I like it. A nice story to follow in the background while you stay for the gameplay because it is too much fun. The game's structure, however, is not as fun. The game is separated into different missions, which would be fine if the missions didn't start off at the exact same place as the last one ended. A lot of the time a mission clear screen felt like an interruption to the current quest, and I think a few of them could have been cut out and combined with others, especially since one of the missions only lasts a minute. No, I'm not kidding, it lasts a minute and you could probably do it faster if you were a pro at this game. I keep saying combat is fun, but I haven't actually explained it. You have a few combos you can do by timing your button presses and you have a style meter that gives you a rating depending on the moves you use and how long you can keep your combo going. You can also use your guns during any fight to take enemies out at long range or if they are flying and you can't melee attack them. Some enemies also take a while to go down due to having armour and shields, which absolutely did my fucking head in. You also have access to air raid and normal combat, so if you get sick of the enemies, just use that and be done with it. The exploration is also cool to have, but still quite linear. You can backtrack through the castle at any time, but I couldn't find a reason to. Maybe you can find some collectibles or extra orbs, but the quest for the most part is rather linear. This ain't no Spencer Mansion. There were a few areas off the beaten path to find extra goodies, but for the most part you could stick to the immediate path and be fine to finish the game. And that's all I have to say about Devil May Cry. I have sounded really negative throughout this review. Like, for example, about Air Raid being as OP as it is, the boss fights not being designed the best. But given that this game's 21 years old and it was released so early in the PS2's life, it's pretty fucking impressive, actually. I really enjoyed my time with Devil May Cry. A lot more than I've enjoyed my time with other games that I've had to play for these reviews. And trust me, I'm not done with character action games. In fact, I mentioned my next victim earlier on in this video, but I'll let you take a guess who that is. With that being said, if you enjoyed, please remember to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Consider checking out my social medias and my Patreon. Links are all in the description, only if you enjoyed. And I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.